They dropped all cadets on a Class 3 Deathworld. Human Girl called it a relaxing weekend getaway. Part 1. The big hall was full of noise. 300 cadets from 20 different alien species stood together, waiting for their final test. Some of them were tall. Some were short. Some had 4 arms. Some had no arms at all. But all of them were scared. Commander Vexral walked onto the stage. He was a tall alien with gray skin and 4 yellow eyes. His voice was deep and cold when he spoke. Cadets, your final survival test begins in 6 hours. A picture appeared in the air behind him. It showed a planet covered in green clouds and red storms. Lightning flashed across its surface every few seconds. This is Catharus Prime. It is a Class 3 Deathworld. The room went silent. A Deathworld. Everyone knew what that meant. It meant death. Commander Vexral continued speaking. The gravity is 1.4 times standard. The air is toxic. You will need breathing filters at all times. There are large predators in every area. The plants eat meat. 62% of all plant life on this planet will try to kill you. A small alien with a body made of crystal started to cry. Her tears were tiny drops of liquid glass that fell to the floor and shattered. You will survive for 72 hours. 3 days. We will give you emergency beacons. If you use them, you fail the test. If you die, you also fail the test. Someone laughed. Everyone turned to look. In the back of the room stood a human girl. She was small, maybe 5 feet and 4 inches tall. She had brown hair tied back in a simple ponytail and a smile on her face. Commander Vexral's 4 eyes focused on her. Cadet Katie Morrison. You find this funny? Katie shook her head. No, sir. Sorry, sir. I just had a question. Ask it. Is there a harder option? Like a harder planet or something? The silence in the room was so deep that everyone could hear the air system humming in the walls. A massive alien named Threxmal stood next to Katie. He was a Groth, which meant he was 8 feet tall, covered in hard brown shell, and had eyes like a fly. He looked down at the tiny human with confusion. Did you not hear him, human? Class 3 Deathworld. 78% of cadets die in this test. Katie shrugged. Yeah, I heard. It's just that my family does camping trips in places like this. My dad took me to the Australian outback when I was 12. This sounds easier than that, honestly. Commander Vexral made a note on his computer pad. Humans were strange creatures. They had only joined the Galactic Union 17 years ago, and nobody understood them yet. There is no harder option, Cadet Morrison. You will go with everyone else. Katie nodded. She looked almost disappointed. After the meeting ended, Katie found her assigned partner for the test. Her name was Crystalline Song of Morning Waters, but she asked Katie to call her Crystal. She was a Vellani, one of the aliens whose body was made of living crystal. She was beautiful in a strange way, with light moving inside her clear body like trapped stars. She was also terrified. We are going to die, Crystal said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. I have read about Catharus Prime. Nothing survives there. Katie put her hand on Crystal's shoulder very gently. Vellani were fragile. Their crystal bodies could crack if you touched them too hard. Hey, don't worry. I've done stuff like this before. You have survived a death world? I grew up on one. Crystal did not understand. Earth is not classified as a death world. Katie laughed. Only because the people who make those classifications never visited Florida during hurricane season, or tried to swim in waters with crocodiles, or walked through a forest full of bears. She paused. Actually, we have this one jellyfish that's so poisonous it can kill you in 3 minutes. And spiders that hide in your shoes? and snakes that can spit venom into your eyes from 6 feet away. Crystal's crystal body made a cracking sound. Katie worried she might have scared her too much. But don't worry, Katie added quickly. I know how to handle dangerous places. My grandfather taught me survival skills when I was young. He was a Marine. That's like a warrior on Earth. What did he teach you? Everything. How to find water. How to build shelter. How to know which animals are dangerous and which ones are just scared. How to stay calm when everything is trying to kill you. Crystal looked at the small human girl. Katie was shorter than almost every other cadet in the academy. Her arms were thin. She did not have claws or fangs or armor. By every measure, she should have been the weakest person in the test, but there was something in her eyes. A kind of light that Crystal had never seen before. It was not fear. It was not even courage. It was something else. Something that said she had seen danger before and beaten it. You really think we can survive? Crystal asked. I think we can do better than survive. I think we can have fun. Fun? On a death world? Katie grinned. Crystal, where I come from, we climb mountains for fun. We jump out of planes for fun. We swim with sharks for fun. Humans are weird like that. We see something dangerous and think, I wonder if I can beat that. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small package. I brought snacks. You like chocolate? It's a food from Earth. It's made from beans that we ferment and roast and mix with sugar. It's amazing. Crystal had never tried chocolate. She had never met anyone who offered her food before a deadly survival test. She had certainly never met anyone who seemed excited about being dropped on a planet where everything wanted to kill them. You are very strange, Katie Morrison. Thanks. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all day. 6 hours later, they stood in the drop pod bay. The pods were small metal boxes designed to fall from space and land on the planet below. Each pod held 2 cadets. Katie checked her gear one more time. Breathing filter. Water purifier. Emergency knife. Fire starter. First aid kit. And of course, the chocolate. Crystal stood beside her, shaking slightly. The Villani were not built for violence or danger. They came from a peaceful planet where the biggest threat was a strong wind that might knock them over. It will be okay, Katie said. Stay close to me. Do what I say. And remember, everything is going to try to kill us, so we just have to be smarter than everything. That does not make me feel better. It wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to make you ready. The alarm sounded. The pod doors opened. Katie grabbed Crystal's arm and pulled her inside. The door closed behind them with a heavy thunk. Through the small window, Katie could see other pods launching, falling toward the green and red planet below. Here we go, she said. The pod launched. Katie felt her stomach drop as they fell through space toward Ketherus Prime. Crystal was praying in her language. A song of clicking sounds and pure notes. Katie was smiling. This was going to be the most fun she had in months. The pod hit the atmosphere and everything turned to fire. They dropped all cadets on a Class 3 Deathworld. Human girl called it a relaxing weekend getaway. Part 2. The pod crashed through trees and hit the ground hard. Katie felt her teeth rattle. Beside her, Crystal made a sound like breaking glass. You okay? Katie asked. I am not dead. I think that counts as okay. Katie hit the release button and the pod door flew open. Hot air rushed in, thick and wet and smelling like rotten eggs. She quickly checked that her breathing filter was working. It was. Outside, the world was green. But it was not a nice green like grass or leaves back home. It was a sick green, a poison green. The trees were tall and twisted, with bark that moved like it was breathing. The ground was covered in moss that glowed faintly. Where are we? Crystal asked. Katie checked her location device. Her face did not change, but inside she felt a small spark of worry. Extreme Hazard Zone 7. That sounds bad. It's not great. The briefing said this area has hunting trees and acid rain. Also something called stalker packs. She put the device away. But that's fine. We just need to be careful. Crystal stepped out of the pod. Her crystal feet sank slightly into the soft ground. What do we do first? First, we build shelter. Then we find water. Then we figure out where the dangerous things are so we can avoid them. Katie was already moving. She pulled a large knife from her pack and started cutting branches from a tree that did not seem to be moving. Her hands worked fast and sure, like she had done this 1,000 times before. Crystal watched with amazement. You move like you have done this before. I have. Lots of times. When I was young, my family would go camping every summer. My dad always said that nature was the best teacher. He would drop me and my brother in the woods with nothing but a knife and tell us to find our way back. That seems dangerous for children. Katie laughed. It was. That's why we learned so fast. She kept working, building a frame from branches and weaving leaves into walls. Crystal tried to help, but her crystal fingers were not made for this kind of work. She kept dropping things. It's okay, Katie said kindly. You can help by watching for danger. Your eyes are better than mine. This was true. Delaney could see heat and movement much better than humans. Crystal stood guard while Katie built. An hour later, they had a small shelter. It was not pretty, but it was strong. The roof was made from waxy leaves that Katie said would keep out the acid rain. How do you know those leaves will work? Crystal asked. I tasted them. You what? Tasted them. Just a small lick. If something tastes really bitter or burns your tongue, it usually means it has chemicals that repel water or poison. These leaves tasted bitter, so I figured they have something that protects them from the acid rain. Crystal stared at her. You put a strange alien plant in your mouth to test it. Yeah, that's how my grandmother taught me to check for poison berries back on Earth. Same idea, different planet. Before Crystal could respond, a sound came from the jungle. It was low and deep, like something very large was moving through the trees. Katie froze. She held up one hand to tell Crystal to be quiet. The sound came again. Closer this time. Katie looked at the ground. She looked at the trees. She looked at the direction of the wind. Get in the shelter, she whispered. Slowly, no sudden moves. They both moved into the small structure. Katie pulled out her knife and waited. The sound stopped. Long minutes passed. Then, slowly, a shape appeared between the trees. It was big, maybe the size of a car back on Earth. It had 6 legs and a head full of teeth. Its skin was dark green with black spots, perfect for hiding in the jungle. Katie did not move. She did not breathe. The creature sniffed the air. Its head turned toward their shelter. For one terrible moment, Katie thought it would attack. Then it made a strange sound, almost like a sneeze, and walked away. They waited another 10 minutes before Katie spoke. It was an ambush hunter. They have good noses but bad eyes. When it couldn't see us moving, it decided we weren't food. How do you know that? Body shape. The way it moved. Back on Earth, we have animals called tigers. They hunt the same way. They wait in hiding and jump on things that move. If you stay still, they get confused. Crystal's whole body was shaking. I have never been so scared in my life. That's normal. Fear keeps you alive. The trick is to not let fear make you do stupid things. Katie pulled out 2 food bars and handed one to Crystal. Here, eat something. It will help. They ate in silence. Outside, the light was starting to fade. The sick green sky was turning dark purple. The rain will come soon, Katie said. We need to stay in here until morning. What if something attacks us during the night? Katie pointed to several strings she had tied around the shelter entrance. Tripwires. If something comes in, we'll know. And then what? Then we fight or run. Depends on what it is. Crystal looked at the small human girl. Katie was cleaning her knife calmly, like they were not trapped on a planet that wanted to kill them. Katie, can I ask you something? Sure. Are you not afraid? Even a little? Katie thought about the question. She put down her knife and looked at Crystal with serious eyes. I'm always afraid. Every time I do something dangerous, I feel fear. But here's the thing about humans. We grew up on a planet that was trying to kill us for 200,000 years. We learned that fear is just information. It tells you something is dangerous. But it doesn't get to decide what you do. You decide what you do. She picked up her knife again. My grandfather used to say, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that something else is more important than fear. Right now, keeping you alive is more important than my fear. Crystal felt something warm inside her chest. On her planet, people did not talk like this. They did not face death and speak about it so simply. Thank you, Katie. For what? For being my partner? I think if I was with anyone else, I would be dead already. Katie smiled. Don't thank me yet. We still have 2 more days to go. Outside, the first drops of acid rain began to fall. They hissed when they hit the ground, burning small holes in the glowing moss. Katie pulled a blanket from her pack and handed half of it to Crystal. Try to sleep. I'll take first watch. You need sleep too. I'll sleep later. Humans can go a long time without sleep. It's one of our things. Crystal wrapped herself in the blanket. The rain was getting heavier now, drumming against their shelter roof. But the waxy leaves held. Not a single drop got through. Katie? Yeah? Tell me about Earth. Tell me about your home. So Katie talked. She told Crystal about blue skies and white clouds. She told her about oceans so big you could not see the other side. She told her about mountains covered in snow and deserts full of sand. She told her about dogs and cats and horses and all the animals that live with humans. And she told her about the dangerous things too. The sharks and the crocodiles and the poisonous snakes. The earthquakes and the volcanoes and the storms that could destroy cities. Your planet sounds terrifying, Crystal said. It is, but it's also beautiful. That's the strange thing about Earth. The most dangerous places are often the most beautiful. The jungle is full of things that can kill you, but it's also full of life and color. The ocean can drown you, but it's the most amazing thing you'll ever see. Crystal thought about this. Her own planet was safe and quiet. Nothing there wanted to kill you, but nothing there was very exciting either. Maybe danger and beauty go together, she said. Katie nodded. Maybe they do. Maybe that's why humans are the way we are. We grew up surrounded by both. Outside, something screamed in the darkness. It was a terrible sound, full of pain and fear. Some creature had just died in a predator's jaws. Katie did not even look up. Try to sleep, she said again. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. Crystal closed her eyes and let the sound of the rain carry her to sleep. Her last thought before darkness took her was a strange one. She was on a death world, surrounded by things that wanted to eat her, and somehow she felt safer than she had ever felt in her life, because she was with a human, and humans. She was learning were the scariest things in the galaxy. They dropped all cadets on a Class 3 Deathworld human girl called it a relaxing weekend getaway. Part 3 morning came slowly on Ketherus Prime. The purple sky turned gray, then a pale yellow that hurt the eyes. Katie woke Crystal with a gentle touch. Time to move. Crystal opened her eyes. Every part of her body hurt from sleeping on hard ground. Is it safe? Safe enough. The rain stopped an hour ago. Most of the night hunters have gone back to their dens. They packed up their small camp and started walking. Katie had a map on her device that showed the area around them. She pointed to a spot about 6 kilometers away. There's a water source here. A river or a lake, I'm not sure which. We need to get there today. Is it dangerous? Katie laughed. Everything here is dangerous. But we need water. The stuff in our packs won't last forever. They walked through the jungle. Katie moved first, checking the ground and the trees for danger. Crystal followed close behind, her crystal feet clicking softly on the rocks. The jungle was alive with sounds. Things chirped and screamed and howled in the distance. Once they saw something fly overhead, a creature with wings like torn cloth and a body like a snake. It did not see them. How do you know where to step? Crystal asked. I look for patterns. See how the ground is darker here? That means it's wet. Wet ground might have things living in it that bite. See how those plants are growing in a circle? That usually means there's something dead in the middle that they're eating. We go around. Crystal was learning more about survival in one day than she had in her whole life. After 2 hours of walking, they came to a ridge of black rock. Katie stopped and held up her hand. Problem. Crystal looked. Below the ridge, in a flat area of dirt and bones, was a group of creatures. They were the same kind of thing Katie had called stalkers. 6 legs, too many teeth, dark green skin. There were 6 of them, and they were lying in the sun like cats. That's a pack, Katie whispered. And they're right between us and the water. Can we go around? I checked. The canyon walls are too high on the left. The river is too acidic on the right. This is the only way through. Crystal felt fear grip her chest. Then we cannot get water. We have to find another source. There is no other source. Not close enough anyway. Katie was looking at the stalkers with a strange expression. Not fear, something else. I have an idea. What kind of idea? A dangerous one. Katie sat down behind the ridge and started pulling things from her pack. The wrappers from their food bars. A container of thick sap she had collected from a tree. The body of a small animal that had tried to steal their food during the night. What are you doing? Making a distraction. Katie started covering the dead animal in sap and something else. A powder she scraped from a bright red plant. See the big stalker in the middle? The one with the scars on its face? Crystal looked. One of the stalkers was bigger than the others. Its face was covered in old wounds. That's the pack leader. The others follow it. If I can make the leader think there's food or danger somewhere else, the whole pack will move. That gives us time to run through. How do you know they work that way? On Earth, we have animals called wolves. They look different, but they act the same. Pack hunters always follow the leader. It's nature. Same rules everywhere. Katie finished preparing her trap. She attached a small fire-making device to the dead animal and set it to go off in 30 seconds. When I throw this, the stalkers will smell it and go to investigate. When they move, we run. Don't stop. Don't look back. Follow me exactly. Understand? Crystal nodded. She was too scared to speak. Katie stood up just enough to throw. Her arm moved fast and strong, and the bundle flew through the air. It landed far away, behind some rocks. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. The firemaker sparked. Smoke started to rise. The smell of burning meat filled the air. The pack leader's head snapped up. It made a sound, a bark mixed with a scream. The other stalkers jumped to their feet and ran toward the smell. Meow! Katie grabbed Crystal's arm and ran. The ground was rough and covered in bones. Crystal stumbled once, twice. Her crystal body was not made for running. They were halfway across when one of the stalkers stopped. It turned around. It saw them. Katie heard the hunting call change. The stalker was telling the others that prey was escaping. Faster! I cannot. Katie did not wait for Crystal to finish. She grabbed the Vellani and lifted her up, carrying her while still running. Crystal was heavy, maybe 40 kilograms, but Katie did not slow down. Behind them, 3 stalkers were coming back. They were fast, much faster than Katie. 50 meters to the safe zone, a narrow crack in the rocks too small for the stalkers to follow. 40 meters. 30 meters. Katie felt the ground shake. One of the stalkers was right behind them. She could smell its breath, hot and rotten like dead meat. 20 meters. The stalker jumped. Katie threw herself to the side, rolling with Crystal in her arms. The stalker's claws missed them by the width of a finger. It crashed into the ground and slid past them. 10 meters. Katie was up again, running, her legs burning, her lungs screaming for air. The second stalker was coming from the left. Katie could not dodge this time. Instead, she pulled off her pack and threw it at the creature's face. The stalker's jaws closed on the pack instead of Katie. It bit down and shook. Confused by the thing that was not meat. 5 meters. Katie dove for the crack in the rocks. She pushed Crystal in first, then squeezed herself through, just as the third stalker slammed into the rock behind her. The creature screamed with anger. It tried to push its head into the crack, but it was too big. Its jaws snapped at the air, missing Katie's foot by nothing. They were safe. Katie lay on her back, breathing so hard she thought she might be sick. Crystal lay beside her, making a sound like wind chimes in a storm. We survived, Crystal said. Told you. Katie laughed between breaths. Just like a weekend camping trip. That was nothing like camping. You've never been camping with my family. They stayed in the crack until the stalkers gave up and left. It took almost an hour. Katie used the time to check Crystal for injuries. There were small cracks in her left arm, but nothing serious. I can fix this, Katie said. She pulled out a small bottle of glue from her first aid kit. Hold still. You have glue for Crystal? I have glue for everything. My mom always said, if you can't fix it with glue or tape, you're not using enough glue or tape. She carefully filled in the cracks in Crystal's arm. The Vellani watched with wonder. Katie, you saved my life. Again. That's what partners do. No, partners in my culture work together. They help each other. They do not carry each other through danger while predators chase them. Katie shrugged. Maybe that's a human thing. We don't leave people behind. It's just not something we do. Crystal thought about this. She thought about everything she had seen in the last 2 days. The small human girl who was not scared of anything, who ran toward danger instead of away from it, who carried a stranger through a pack of killers because leaving her behind was simply not an option. Your people, Crystal said slowly, are very strange. Yeah, we get that a lot. Katie stood up and looked through the crack. The stalkers were gone. Ahead, through the rocks, she could see sunlight reflecting off water. Come on, let's get that drink we came for. They walked out of the crack and toward the river. It was beautiful in a strange way. The water was clear and blue, nothing like the poison green of everything else on this planet. Katie tested the water with a small device. It's clean. Well, clean enough. We can drink it. They filled their bottles and drank until their stomachs hurt. Then they filled the bottles again. Now what? Crystal asked. Katie looked at her map. Now we find high ground. Somewhere we can see the area around us. Somewhere we can defend. Defend against what? Against whatever comes next. Katie smiled at her partner. We've survived 30 hours. Only 42 more to go. Crystal looked at the jungle around them, at the things moving in the shadows, at the sky full of flying predators. Only 42 more hours, she repeated. That's the spirit. And they walked on deeper into the Deathworld, toward whatever new danger was waiting for them above them in space. Commander Vexrol watched. Their tracking signals was something that might have been amazement. The human and the Horde Vellani were not just surviving, they were winning. They dropped all cadets on a Class 3 Deathworld human girl, called it a relaxing weekend getaway. Part 4 on the command ship. Far above Ketharis Prime, the tracking board was covered in red lights. Each red light was a cadet who had failed. Some had pressed their emergency buttons. Some had died. Commander Vexrol stood with his hands behind his back, watching the lights. "How many teams remain active?" he asked. His assistant checked the numbers. 7 teams, Commander. Out of 60. And Cadet Morrison? Still active. Strong life signs. She and her partner have traveled farther than any other team. They have passed through 3 predator zones and survived the acid rain event. Vexrol's 4 eyes narrowed. "Show me their path." The screen changed to show a map of Extreme Hazard Zone 7. A blue line showed where Katie and Crystal had walked. It went through areas marked in red and black, places where other teams had died. "Interesting," Vexrol said. "She is not avoiding danger. She is using it." "Using it, Commander?" "Look at her path. She goes through the Stalker territory, which makes her scent disappear. She crosses the acid pools, which destroys her trail. Everything that should kill her is instead protecting her from other predators." His assistant was quiet for a moment. "That seems very smart." "It is more than smart. It is the way a predator thinks." Down on the planet, Katie and Crystal had found the high ground Katie wanted. It was a cave system in the mountains, overlooking the area where the rescue ships would come after 72 hours. "This is perfect," Katie said. "We can see everything from here. Nothing can sneak up on us. And the cave goes deep, so we have somewhere to hide if we need it." Crystal sat down on a rock. Her crystal body was tired in a way she had never felt before. "How do you know all these things? About survival, about predators, about everything?" Katie sat beside her. "I told you. I grew up on a Deathworld. But Earth is not classified as a Deathworld. Only because the scientists never asked humans what it was like to live there." Katie picked up a small rock and turned it in her hands. "Let me tell you something about Earth. For most of human history, we were not the top of the food chain. There were things that hunted us. Big cats that saw us as food. Bears that could kill us with one hit. Wolves that worked in packs to take us down. How did you survive? We got smart. We learned to work together. We made weapons from rocks and sticks. We made fire to keep the darkness away. And most important, we never gave up. Every time something tried to kill us, we found a way to kill it first." Crystal thought about this. "Your people are natural survivors. More than that. We're natural adapters. Put a human anywhere, and they will find a way to live there. Deserts, jungles, frozen lands, underwater, even in space. We just figure it out." Katie stood up and looked out of the cave entrance. "That's why I'm not scared of this place. It's dangerous, yes. But I've seen dangerous before. My great-great-grandmother survived a war where millions of people died. My grandfather survived battles in jungles not so different from this one. My mother survived a car accident that should have killed her." She turned to look at Crystal. "Humans survive. It's what we do. It's who we are." Before Crystal could respond, they heard a sound from below. Voices, not animal sounds, but actual words. Katie grabbed her knife and moved to the cave entrance. She looked down carefully below. Climbing up the mountain path were other cadets. 3 big Groth with their shell armor cracked and dirty. 2 more Vellani, moving slowly and helping each other. And 2 Korath, lizard-like beings with scales that had lost their shine. They looked broken, defeated, like they had given up hope. "Survivors," Katie said. "Stay here." She climbed down the rocks fast and easy, like a monkey. Crystal watched from above as Katie reached the group. "Hey, up here. Come on this way." The survivors looked at her with tired eyes. One of the Groth, a female named Shella, spoke first. "Human? You are still alive?" "Of course I'm alive. Come on, I've got a safe camp up in the caves. Water, shelter, everything you need." The group followed her up the mountain. Katie helped the Villani climb, holding their fragile arms carefully. She showed the Groth where to put their heavy feet so the rocks would not break. When they reached the cave, Crystal had already prepared a small fire using the chemical sticks from Katie's pack. "Sit down. Rest. When did you last drink water?" Shella shook her head. "Hours. Maybe a day. We lost our supplies in a river crossing." Katie handed out water from her bottles. "Drink slowly. Too fast and you'll be sick." The survivors drank. Some of them cried. The Korath named Vixal looked at Katie with amazement. "How are you alive?" "We passed through zones where entire teams died. We saw the bodies. I was careful. And lucky. Mostly careful." Katie checked her map. "What happened to your partners?" The room went quiet. "Dead," Shella said. "My partner was taken by something in the water. I could not save him." The other survivors had similar stories. Partners lost to predators, to poison plants, to the acid rain. They had all lost someone. Katie's face changed. For the first time, she looked sad. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you went through that. You do not need to apologize. It was not your fault. I know. But I'm still sorry. No one should have to watch their partner die." She sat down with the group. For a while, no one spoke. Then, Katie reached into her pack and pulled out something small and brown. "Anyone want some chocolate?" The aliens looked at her like she was crazy. "What is chocolate?" Vixal asked. "Food from Earth. It's sweet. It makes you feel better when you're sad." She broke the bar into pieces and handed them out. "Trust me. It helps." They ate. Their expressions changed as the taste hit them. The Villani made sounds of surprise. The Korath's scales shifted to brighter colors. Even the Groth, who usually only ate meat, seemed pleased. "This is good," Shella said. "Very good, right? Chocolate fixes everything." Katie smiled. "Now, let's talk about how we're going to survive the next 30 hours. She pulled out her map and showed them the area. She pointed out the predator zones and the safe paths. She explained about the extraction zone and how to get there. The survivors listened. As she talked, something changed in their eyes. The hopelessness started to fade. In its place was something new. Hope. "You have done all this already?" Vixal asked. "Mapped the dangers? Found the safe routes?" "Most of it. I've been leaving markers too, in case other survivors found them. Why would you help others?" "In this test, we are competing." Katie looked confused by the question. "So, competition doesn't mean we have to let each other die. On Earth, when there's danger, humans work together. It's how we survived as a species." Shella leaned forward. "Human. Katie, I was wrong about your kind. When I first saw you, I thought you were weak. Too small. Too soft. I thought you would die in the first hour. Thanks. But I understand now. Humans are not weak. You are something else. Something I do not have a word for. You face death and you refuse to be afraid." "Oh, I'm afraid. Trust me. I'm scared all the time here. But fear doesn't help anything. So I do what needs to be done anyway." Crystal moved to sit next to Katie. She carried me through a stalker pack, running while I was in her arms. While the creatures were chasing us, the survivors stared, That is not possible, Shella said. Humans are not strong enough. Apparently, we are when we need to be. Katie shrugged like it was nothing. Adrenaline. It's a chemical in our blood. When we're in danger, it makes us stronger and faster for a short time. Humans call it the fight-or-flight response. Your body has a built-in emergency mode? Yeah, most Earth animals have something similar. Our planet is dangerous, remember? We evolved to deal with sudden death situations. The Groth, the Villani, the Korath, they all looked at the small human girl with new eyes. She was not weak. She was not soft. She was something far more dangerous. She was a survivor from a Deathworld, and she was going to make sure they all survived too. Okay, Katie said, standing up. Everyone get some rest. I'll take first watch. In 6 hours, we start moving toward the extraction zone. We're going to walk out of here together. All of us? Vixo asked. All of us. No one else dies. Not on my watch. It should have sounded impossible. It should have sounded like foolish hope. But when Katie said it, everyone believed her. Because humans, they were learning, had a way of making the impossible happen. They dropped all cadets on a Class 3 Deathworld human girl called it a relaxing weekend getaway. Part 5. The 72 hours ended with sunshine. The sick green clouds parted, and for the first time since they landed, the survivors could see blue sky. Katie stood at the front of a group of 14 aliens. 12 she had gathered during the last day, plus Crystal, who had never left her side. They were tired. They were hurt. But they were alive. There it is, Katie said, pointing down the mountain. The extraction zone. About 2 kilometers. The flat area was clear of trees. Landing lights blinked on poles around the edges. And in the center, a shuttle was waiting for them. We made it, Crystal whispered. Her voice was full of wonder. Not yet. 2 kilometers of open ground. Lots of predators between here and there. Stay close, stay quiet, and don't run unless I say run. The group moved down the mountain in a line. Katie was in front. The Groth, Shella, and her 2 friends were in back. They had become Katie's soldiers in the last 30 hours. Following her orders without question, they reached the bottom of the mountain without trouble. The open ground stretched ahead of them, covered in short grass and small rocks. Keep moving. Don't stop. 1 kilometer to go. Something howled in the distance. Then another howl answered. Then another. Stalkers, Shella said. Many of them. Katie looked at the tree line to the left. Shapes were moving in the shadows. Green and black shapes with too many legs. They won't attack in the open. Too exposed. They like to hide and jump. Just keep walking. But the stalkers were not normal hunting animals. They had learned something during the last 3 days. They had learned that some prey was worth extra effort. The howls grew closer. Katie, Crystal's voice was shaking. I know. Keep walking. 500 meters to go. The stalkers came out of the trees. Not just 1 pack. 3 packs. Maybe 20 creatures in total. They spread out, surrounding the group of survivors. Katie stopped walking. Everyone stopped with her. Well, she said, this is new. Shella moved forward, her claws out. We fight? We won't win. Too many of them. Katie looked around, thinking fast. Her brain worked through every option, every possibility. Then she smiled. Everyone, when I say go, run for the shuttle. Don't stop for anything. What about you? Katie reached into her pack and pulled out 3 small cylinders. Emergency flares. She had saved them for exactly this kind of moment. I'm going to do something stupid. Before anyone could stop her, Katie lit off 3 flares at once. Bright red fire exploded from her hands, so bright it hurt to look at. The stalkers screamed and backed away. Fire was new. Fire was dangerous. Fire was not normal prey. Go. The survivors ran. Crystal hesitated for just a second, looking back at Katie. Run, Crystal. I'm right behind you. The Villani ran. Katie walked backwards slowly, waving the flares in wide circles. The stalkers followed her, but they kept their distance. The fire scared them, but they were also hungry. They were waiting for the fire to die. 300 meters to the shuttle. The flares were getting dimmer. 200 meters. One of the stalkers, braver than the others, made a test jump toward Katie. She shoved a flare at its face, and it screamed and fell back. 100 meters. The flares flickered. Almost dead. 50 meters. Katie could hear the shuttle engines warming up. She could see the other survivors at the door, waving at her to hurry. The flares died. For 1 second, everything was still. The stalkers looked at Katie. Katie looked at the stalkers. Then she ran. She ran faster than she had ever run in her life. Her legs pumped. Her arms moved. Her lungs burned. Behind her, she heard the thunder of many feet hitting the ground. 30 meters. 20 meters. Something grabbed her leg. Teeth or claws, she didn't know. Pain shot up her body. 10 meters. She fell. The ground hit her hard. She rolled, kicking at the thing on her leg. Then hands grabbed her. Big hands. Groth hands. Shella and her friends had come back for her. They lifted Katie off the ground and ran. The shuttle door was open. Bodies fell inside, rolling over each other. Close the door. Someone screamed. The door slammed shut just as a stalker hit it from outside. The metal bent but held. The shuttle lifted off. Through the windows, they could see the stalkers jumping at them, missing, falling back to the ground. Then they were rising through the green clouds, rising toward the stars. They were safe. Katie lay on the shuttle floor, blood running from her leg. Crystal was beside her, holding her hand. You came back, Katie said. Shella, you came back for me. The big Groth sat down next to her. You said no one else dies. We are a team now. Teams do not leave people behind. That's a human thing. Now it is a Groth thing too. The shuttle docked with the command ship an hour later. Medical teams were waiting. They took Katie on a stretcher, treating her leg wound while she complained that it wasn't that bad. Commander Vexral stood in the docking bay, watching the survivors come out. 14 aliens and 1 human, all of them alive. Behind them, the rest of the cadets who had been extracted earlier stood in rows, watching. Katie pushed herself off the stretcher, despite the medics' protests. She limped to stand at attention in front of the commander. Cadet Morrison reporting, sir. 72 hours completed. 0 beacon activations in my group. 0 deaths. Vexral looked at the small human girl. Her uniform was torn. Her face was dirty. There was blood on her leg and fire burns on her hands, and she was smiling. Cadet, do you understand what you have done? Survived, sir? More than survived. You saved 12 other cadets. You mapped dangerous territory and left markers for others to follow. You led a group of strangers through one of the most dangerous places in the Gnome Galaxy. He paused. No one has ever done this before. In 100 years of this test, no one has ever helped others the way you did. Katie shrugged. It seemed like the right thing to do. The right thing to do was to survive yourself. That was all the test required. With respect, sir, that's not how humans think. Where I come from, you don't leave people behind. You don't watch others die when you can help. It's just not in us. Vexral was quiet for a long time. Then he did something no cadet had ever seen him do. He bowed. Cadet Morrison, you pass. With the highest marks in Academy history. I am also recommending you for the Extreme Environment Operations Program. It deals with Class 4 and Class 5 Deathworlds. Katie's eyes lit up. There's a harder program? Much harder. Most candidates do not survive. When do I start? Behind her, the other survivors laughed. It was a strange sound, laughter after 3 days of terror. But it felt right. Threxmal, the big groth who had questioned Katie before the test, pushed through the crowd. He walked up to Katie and stood before her. Human, Katie, I was wrong about you. I thought you were weak. Lots of people think that. I will not think it again. He put his massive hand on her shoulder, careful not to crush her. I want to train with you. I want to learn how humans think. Others joined him. Crystal, of course. Shella and the Groth who had saved Katie's life. The Villani who had survived because of her. The Korath whose hope she had restored. They all wanted to learn. Katie looked at the crowd around her. These aliens had been strangers 3 days ago. Now they were something else. Not just survivors. Not just teammates, friends. Okay, she said. First lesson. Everything is trying to kill you. Once you accept that, it stops being scary. It starts being fun? Fun? Threxmal looked confused. Yeah, humans love a challenge. The harder something is, the more we want to beat it. It's weird, but it's who we are. She looked back toward the window, where Ketharis Prime hung in space. The green clouds were swirling, covering the surface where so many had died. Thanks for the vacation, she said softly. Same time next year? The planet did not answer, of course, but somewhere in the jungle below, a stalker pack leader lifted its head. It remembered the strange two-legged creature that had escaped. The one that had faced them with fire in its hands, and no fear in its eyes. It made a sound that might have been frustration, or perhaps respect, because even a predator knows when it has met something more dangerous than itself. And humans, the galaxy was learning, were the most dangerous things of all. Not because they were strong, not because they were fast, not because they had claws or fangs or armor, but because they never, ever gave up, and they always came back for each other. That was the human way. And now, thanks to a small girl from a place called Nebraska, it was starting to become the galactic way too. The end.